Hi, and welcome to PJ and the Beard. Back in July, PJ and I went out to Mike Morrison's house and hung out with him for a bit. We talked to him about his acoustic guitars and the acoustic guitar work that he does with his band across the pond. We also dove into some electric guitars and the electric guitar work he does. You can see both of those episodes in the cards above. Before we left that day, we sat down with Mike and we talked to him about the guitar lessons he teaches and his current studio work. Mike's a great guy, he's a great guitar teacher. He's been my son's guitar teacher for many years. So we thought we'd put this footage out and let you get a chance to know Mike just a little bit better. Thanks for watching.
So this is where the teaching happens.
Right, so I have witnessed from over there many a times my son sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
I've sat in this chair.
Yeah.
Did you used to teach him upstairs?
Yeah, I did before I did this room. Yeah.
I don't even remember. It just
occurred
to me.
That's true.
Because there was a summer where I was able to figure out a time where we could do some lessons, and
That's right.
I keep thinking that I'd like to
It
do
was
that again
upstairs.
someday. But,
You're right about that.
So yeah, I've witnessed many occasions sitting down here, you teaching my son over the years.
Yeah.
And he's taken
still
lessons for quite a while.
Yeah, man, he's done great. He's one of the best readers I have. He's meticulous with that. So yeah, we have a nice little setup here because the kids can, if they play electric, they can plug into that Vox amp back there. They don't have to bring their own amp or cable or anything like that. If they play acoustic, obviously, no big deal. And then we have the keyboard here just to kind of, sometimes it's so much easier to show theory concepts on a keyboard than it is on a guitar because we all know how much of a mess the guitars can be to try to visualize things. And then also I have this old, probably obsolete by now, but it's a Korg 32-track recording thing, and I can plug into that and kind of get a decent guitar sound out of it when I'm teaching electric stuff, but we can also record on it so that the kids can learn a little bit about multi-track recording and things like that. And when I say kids, not all the students are kids, but a lot of them are older than me, but a lot the kids really enjoy making their own records, and so we're able to do
their own
that.
CDs. He's
Recording
come
their
home
own
with
thing.
little CDs
Yeah.
and things and
Of
recorded
stuff that
them
he
for his
did.
friends and gave it to him. Yeah.
Yep. So that's a lot of fun to be able to do that down here, and I'm really thankful just to have the students, you know.
So to ask you to talk about, I mean, I would imagine a lot of people have taken guitar lessons before and kind of know what that looks like. So what I will say is when my son decided he wanted to take guitar lessons, I'm trying to think how old he was.
He was maybe a freshman. Maybe.
It seems like it's been longer than that.
Could have been still in middle school. Yeah.
It's been quite a while. And without going too deep into things, and I don't think Noah would mind me mentioning the fact that he's autistic and has that going on. I know from that he so enjoyed coming down here. Like he really, especially when he was younger, it was a time for him to go somewhere. It was all about, him and being able to hang out. And I think he looked at it sometimes more as a time to hang out with you, just to hang out with a friend and play. And so I always really appreciated that. I thought that was great, and he did so well with that. And just to speak, I think to you a little bit, to your character a little bit maybe, I'm thinking about times like where his class would have like a Christmas party a couple times. You went into his school, and the two of you did like a little duet, did some Christmas songs,
that was
stuff
great.
like that.
Yeah, some of my best memories. I mean, and what you just said, that's the best part of the job, is kind of feeling like I'm hanging out with the students, even though, you definitely are trying to make sure that they're taking more with them than they brought with them when they came, because that's part of the job too, and you have to have that ethic to not just sit here and play a few chords. You have to get something done. But to but to kind of fool the student into thinking that they're just hanging out. And for me, it's like that too, because I get to hang out with some of the best people around. We just have such a great time. Noah and I have always had a good time down here, and I mean, he's showed me his latest dance moves, back in the day. You remember that?
It had to be middle school.
But he'd see a dance on YouTube and bam, he had it.
It is interesting. There's just so many, because I think when I said, like, when we first started talking to us about taking guitar lessons and we thought about it, I wasn't real sure how that was going to go. Is that going to be something he's going to pick up on, be able to do or whatever?
And you never are.
And like you said, like right away, I mean, real apparent right away, the reading thing. And he's not reading Beethoven or anything, but the reading thing really, he does great with that.
He does. And I mean, he's reading, for those of you who read music, I mean, he's reading dotted rhythms, dotted eighth notes, which I always had a hard time. Once you start dotting the eighth notes, and I have to sit there and actually king 1 E and count to figure out how that rhythm should sound. Noah, he reads it. I mean, he reads it, interprets it, and then plays it. Now, nobody plays flawlessly usually when they're sight reading, but he's able to get the rhythm correct. And I always thought that was the biggest challenge of reading music, is reading more complicated rhythms really well. And I always just am in awe when I see a student surpass me, which is what I want them to do, especially with that, because I'm a rudimentary reader. I can teach it, but I'm not the best reader in the world. And I love when I see a student just go to town and do better than I would do. That's when I'm really happy. And I think Noah is in that category, to where now you set a piece of music that he's never seen in front of him, and he'll play the rhythm correctly. Yeah,
it's really awesome.
Yep.
And glad that he's still
I'm
trying to figure
coming.
it out and still come. So I think, so that's the lesson part, and I don't want to get into too deep on lessons beyond that, other than how much I've appreciated the lessons that you teach to my son, and I'm sure I've talked to many other people that have taken lessons over here. And always have great things to say.
And I so appreciate that, because that's how I get students, is word of mouth. I don't advertise. So yeah, I mean, I can't thank parents and former students enough for continuing to send people to me. But yeah, because that's where it's all at. That's where my income is.
So part of being a full-time musician, obviously, is going out and playing gigs and stuff like that. But
yes.
Making a living at it, we have the gig part, we have the lesson part, and then there's also, I guess, the studio part.
The studio part. And I'd like to get more into that. I would love to be able to do that more often now. I was very lucky to... now, I've obviously made records throughout my career with the bands I've been in and whatnot, and I've been lucky enough to make some great records. Hired Guns made a good record. Echo Town, with the guys from the Badleys, we made a great record, I feel, that still stands up. And then with Across the Pond, we just finished our second CD, and our first CD did very well for us. It actually made us, money, which is, that's icing on the cake when you do your own CD, because a lot of times, they cost more to make than they're labors of love. But
if you can pay off the studio, you've done
then you're really happy.
And the production, you've done good.
We've gotten really, really lucky, and just, our fans and friends and the people who see us at festivals have really taken to it and bought it, and so I'm hoping the second one does as well. On top of that, I was able to hook up with a guy that lives very close to me here named Anthony Esposito, who owns Obscenic Arts Studios, and he has a top-notch studio, and he basically has used me on a lot of recordings, and he has other guys, and he calls us his Dillsburg Mafia. And he's got a keyboard player, I think Tim Justice, and he's a drummer named Pat, and I think Greg Regal is in on that as well. All local guys and regional guys that can really play and have toured a lot and know the deal, but do studio work, and that has helped me to kind of break into the studio as someone who's playing on someone else's records and really trying to interpret what that client wants and do it quickly so that it doesn't waste their time and money. Because
because you got to be able to perform.
You got to get in there, listen to the track, listen to the client if he's there, figure out what they want, and get it done. Yeah, and I love that challenge. I have a ball doing that. So I've been lucky to hook up with Anthony on that, and you guys should definitely do a segment over at that studio because it's just a top-notch facility.
Right, and you're the second person that's mentioned that to us, so we're hoping to do that. And so I think when we do that, we'll get more into the background of Anthony, probably, but maybe worth mentioning, like he has a background. Like he's not...
Oh, yeah, he's I guess he's from New York. His first notable band was Lynch Mob with George Lynch, who was in Dokken, I guess it was. And that was he was with that band for their heyday. And I think he wrote their big album, Wicked Sensation. He wrote a lot of the songs on that, or co-wrote a lot of the songs. And I think his other very notable band, I think he's played with a lot of folks, was Ace Frehley's group. And and now he plays with Jake E. Lee, which we mentioned in that other video, who used my 1970 Martin on his latest recordings.
Which was done in that studio.
So I was lucky enough to be able to play on an acoustic track that is on the import version of that album. The album is called Patina, and the band is called Red Dragon Cartel. So that was a lot of fun. I got my picture on the inside on the collage of the album. So
nice.
Another little feather. Yeah, why not? But yeah, like I say, honored to work at that studio. It's a great studio, and I'm always happy to work for them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
So I think, have we covered all the bases? We got across the pond.
Yeah.
Acoustic stuff. Talked about some electrics.
Yeah.
If you're just tuning into this video for the first time,
teaching and
go back to the acoustic stuff. Go back to the electric stuff.
Right.
Teaching studio.
That's right. And speaking of that, you guys got to clear out because my first student's coming. See you later.
There you go. So with that, we'd love for you to subscribe. There's more field trip stuff coming, and I guess I don't know, Pat. You like to do the?
Yeah. Pat,
you want to step on?
From behind the camera, this is PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you never have too much gear. And while we're at it, we're going to get out of here because that rhymes. See ya!